Moors, brothers, it's your boy JTLive. Welcome back to another episode of South Stand Signings, the series, of course, where we go through everything happening in and around the world of Leeds United. And we have a little talk about it, and things that seem like they were starting off so well for Leeds have taken a little diversion after a couple of injuries and a poor performance on the weekend against Southampton. But the Leeds United board are ready to come and resurrect all the issues. There is so much for us to get our teeth stuck into. But before we do get into all of that, we are trying to hit 4K before the end of the month. We are moonwalking our way up to 4,000 subscribers. So if you want to help support me, support you, and stay up to date with everything on the channel, then make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell down below so you don't miss out on any other content. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight into the meat of the action. And the first story around Leeds United is, of course, our quest for a new forward, and a new name that has been emerging very recently is, of course, that man Wilfried Natto, the FC Zurich forward. And according to Fabrizio Romano, Victor Orta and Radrizzani may be plotting one last surprise in the summer transfer window, going out for the big man. The Italian journalist singled out the young attacker as the one to watch at Ellen Road, breaking through and shining at an international level this year. They're looking for new strikers. Obviously, Bamford is out, XYZ, and while speaking on his YouTube channel, Que Golazo, Romano name-dropped him as one to look out for in the next couple of weeks of the window. Now, I've seen a lot of people talking about Gnoto, and not a lot of people very happy about him. Yes, he's young. Yes, he's not very proven. Is he even going to get straight into the first squad? For me, someone who, again, is going to get into the under-21s. He's going to get into the second team. He's maybe going to try and earn his way up there. Not a guy, for me personally, that I think will be walking straight into the first team, and not a guy that I think a lot of fans will be happy at. If you look at Patrick Bamford picking up an injury, if you look at Leeds struggling to kill teams off early on in the game, not to mention our lack of defensive stability, so we really need to be killing these teams off. And then you're talking about bringing in Wilfried Natto while we've been sat this whole window waiting with bated breath for a Callum or a De Ketelaere. For me, it is not going to get the fans on board. It is not a move that I see working out too well. And one man that does seem to agree with me on this one is Phil Hay, who has recently also come out to rubbish Leeds' links to Wilfried Natto. While speaking on his podcast the other day, he said, "The message I've had has been playing that one down this morning," he says. So I'm not convinced that that is going to happen. He is a good talent. He's an Italy international already, and you have to say would very much fit into the sort of profile Leeds would go for, young players with potential. But young at 18, without a doubt, younger than Gelhardt. But no, a bit of cold water poured on that this morning. It doesn't seem like it is likely that it could happen. There is still a chance. Are you guys happy with this move? Do you think this is a good move if it comes alongside someone else? It does look like we are only going to be making about 1 or 2 moves at that left in this window. So if this guy is the only forward that we bring in, I'm sorry, but it's just not good enough. It's not good enough for Leeds. It's not good enough for the fans. It's not good enough to push us forward. And it's not good enough to even assure us survival in the Premier League. We need big news on the striker front. Now, one bit of striker news that they're also talking about is your old man Joe Wayman coming out saying that Ivan Toney is much better than Patrick Bamford. Whilst Ivan Toney is a player that we have been linked with and are still continued to be linked with, this is prime fraudulence, and I will have a word with you about this, mate. This is absolute prime fraudulence from you, my man. And speaking of a striker that we're looking at to replace Patrick Bamford, another story that is emerging very recently, and a story that will send mixed signals shivering across the Leeds United fan base, is that Leeds are apparently monitoring Neal Maupay as a Patrick Bamford replacement. Would you believe it? Or rather supplement due to his injury record. And Leeds United are apparently monitoring the situation surrounding Neal Maupay following the injury sustained at Patrick Bamford at the weekend, according to a report from 90 Minutes. Maupay looks set to leave Brighton this window, and up until today, it seemed that he was destined to become the latest of a long line of players trying to join Nottingham Forest, which is absolutely ridiculous, by the way. The amount of money they are spending beggars belief. The amount of signings they've made is absolutely ridiculous. They are happy to burn through cash. And I know you could turn around and say, well, Leeds spent about 100 million in our first year back. We spent about 100 million this year. I mean, first of all, you're ignoring the sales we made this year. Second of all, yes, we spent £100 million in our first year back. But we didn't go crazy with money and just completely burn it at the wall. They're spending 180 grand a week on a player that they're not going to have next year. They are happy to spend crazy money. I wish Leeds would take a little bit of a leaf out of their book, to be honest. But we might be taking a player out of their transfer list book instead. And Neal Maupay is a guy who... look, he may not be to a lot of fans' tasting, especially after, you know, the taunting and the things that he's done in the past, but he scored 8 goals, got 2 assists last year. There was questions over his clinicality, obviously. Brighton, absolute XG merchants, not able to put the ball away a lot. However, there was one thing. I was watching Joe's stream yesterday, not yesterday, the other day, sorry, and he was talking about... what Leeds require from forwards and how we require them to be high pressers of the ball, to have that good defensive work rate from the front, you know, defending from the front. And one thing that he does have in abundance is the ability to press. And Leeds' press has actually been very underrated under Jesse Marsch, ranking in the 91st percentile of 20.3 presses per 90, which is pretty damn high. I mean, you look at his non-penalty XG, not the best. Now, this is slightly more alarming on that front. You look at the fact that he creates a lot of chances, yes, but he's a player that could certainly help Leeds going forward. And speaking of a press demon, speaking of a pace demon up front that Leeds United are looking at, it is that man, Ismaila Sarr. And Leeds United are apparently in advanced talks over a deal to bring Ismaila Sarr to Ellen Road this summer. According to Saint Atuana with the Foot Mercato, he revealed in a recent post on Twitter that following earlier reports of the Whites' interest in a £25 million move for the Watford forward, Victor Orta is now close to agreeing personal terms with the 24-year-old. However, this is where it becomes very, very interesting. He went on to claim that the arrival of the Senegal international is dependent on the departure of one of Jesse Marsch's current first-team squad. Now, who do you think this could be? Who do you think Leeds could potentially be getting rid of here? Who do you think that Leeds would have to chop out in order to get him? Are we talking about getting rid of a winger or a striker? I don't see us getting rid of Rodrigo Moreno, especially in the form that he's been in, especially the fact that we've already turned down a deal for him. We're not going to get rid of Joe Galhard. We're not going to get rid of Patrick Bamford. So it's most likely looking at a winger. And the only winger that I can think that they're potentially talking about is Daniel James. Maybe Poveda, but I don't see that being very relevant. We're not going to get rid of Sinistero. We're not talking about getting rid of Jack Harrison, because Jack Harrison would go for way more than that. And we'd need a top caliber, you know, Cody Gakpo signing to get in that position. We're not talking about getting rid of Somerville, because we just signed him down to a new deal. We're talking about Daniel James, mate, because we're not talking about Aronson either. They're probably talking about getting rid of Daniel James, which is really, really interesting. However, that might not even be a thing at all, because he might not even be joining Leeds, because late last night, guess who's thrown their hat into the ring? Only bloody Crystal Palace. And apparently, they have been holding talks for him, and that Patrick Vieira has already spoken to Ismaila Sarr about a move to Selhurst Park. They're trying to hijack the deal, which is apparently in very, very advanced stages with Leeds United. This is all getting interesting. It's taking twists, it's taking turns, it's taking pivots. Do you even want Ismaila Sarr at Leeds United? That's a more important question, and a question that we are going to be finding the answer to very, very soon. Hopefully when you guys let me know down below in the comments section down below, but also when the board make a decision, and when, more importantly, Ismaila Sarr makes a decision on what he's going to do. But this is so interesting. Would you guys be happy to lose Dan James to get him? I'm making an assumption that it is Dan James, because I can't think of any other player that they potentially are saying that we have to get rid of in order to sign Ismaila Sarr. If you can think of a more relevant one that we'd be getting rid of, then please let me know down below. But I think they are talking about a DJ Daniel James leaving. And let me know what you guys think about that down in the comments section down below. But speaking of a signing that plays in the wing position, that could be a replacement for Daniel James if we do end up letting him go, or whatever winger they're talking about. There are two players that Leeds United have been linked with bringing in. That's right, Leeds look keen on bringing in another signing. Every time I make these videos, there's a few people I see like, oh, this is all rubbish now. You know, we're not going to sign anyone. Doesn't look like it. It looks like the club is still out there making money moves. And one of them is apparently a double switch for Christian Pulisic and Callum Hudson-Odoi, according to transfer insider Dean Jones. Both Blues players seem to be open to moves away from Stamford Bridge this summer, and it appears that Jesse Marsch has an interest in the pair. Obviously, the interest for Christian Pulisic is pretty damn obvious. You know, we're making this American invasion at Leeds United, and if we sign the last big American starlet out there in the league, but out in Europe, the last big American starlet, then Leeds really will have the reign of all the American fans out there. Let's be real here, because there is still a split proportion of them that support Chelsea, obviously with Todd Bowley being there now, and of course Christian Pulisic playing there. But if Pulisic comes to Leeds, you got Pulisic, you got Aronson, you got Adams, you got Jesse Marsch. Man, you're getting a lot of American shirts being sold over there, a lot of American fans coming over, which could be a plan from the club to, you know, increase our global appeal, to increase our long-term strategies of becoming once again a European powerhouse. However, obviously the obvious attraction is from Jesse Marsch, who is also American and likes the way the player is. And the difference between the two is that it is reported that Christian Pulisic is looking for more of a permanent deal to get out of Stamford Bridge, whereas Callum Hudson-Odoi is just desperate for game time at this moment in his career and would happy to go out, or rather be happy to go out on loan. And at Leeds' current predicament, is that something that you find a little bit more appeasing? Would you rather get Christian Pulisic on a permanent? Would you rather get Callum Hudson-Odoi on a loan deal? Does this supplement our need? Do they improve the squad on what we don't already have? These are the questions that have to be answered. And Leeds have been sniffing around at both of them, but which one would you guys rather the club sign? And the final story that Leeds United are looking to sign is, of course, this man, Kai Wagner. We've been speaking about him for a while. Obviously, the left-back that doesn't seem to be escaping Leeds. A former teammate of Brendan Aronson. Of course, there's a link there. There's a link with the fact that Senior Firpo's out. We don't have another left-back. Are you happy with him? Do you think he satisfies your need? Do you think we just need anyone? I kind of think we just need anyone. However, do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't. I think we're going to stay put with Senior Firpo. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, because he is liquid gold, Senior Firpo. However, he isn't fit at this current moment in time. Do I think he'll be fit for the whole season? I hope so, but I cannot confirm. So the same we've seen with Patrick Bamford. So it may be risky not getting another backup. And speaking of another backup, I know it said it was our last story before, but a story that has been doing the rounds recently is that Leeds could be going back in for Villa ace Ollie Watkins, obviously previously being linked with him while he was at Brentford before he made the initial switch over to Villa. This would be a very exciting move. He is someone who, again, has that physicality to press from the front. He is someone that would really help Leeds in terms of our hold-up play, our link-up play. However, you do have to look at his clinicality again, which at times, I'm thinking of that Manchester City game, does have a couple of question marks around it. However, it is a move that would also be very, very, very hard to get done at this current moment in time. Although, apparently, he has fallen out with Steven Gerrard, so it could be on the books. But let me know what you guys think about all those deals down in the comment section down below. But for now, guys, I'm wishing you a very, very soon out of one of my brothers and my sisters.